Hey, what's up, YouTube? I just got done watching Captain Jeff's video on the Braid Wars. I don't know if you watched the mullet run on YouTube here, but Captain Jeff, he's hilarious, and he has been launching a campaign against Braided fishing line for years now. If you watch it, and you know, he's like the old school mono guy, you know, and he's always tripping on dudes sporting their braid, which, you know, I'm guilty of it. I sport my braid. I sport braided fishing line everywhere, but my reasons for sporting braid is because I fish so many spectrums of fishing with the same reels and the same rods that I like to have braided fishing line because it's stronger and more durable and it lasts longer, and it allows me to go shark fishing one day, red fishing another, or BTB one day, or trout fishing the other, and it gives me that extra oomph, and I've found that it lasts longer than mono. I don't know how many times I've reared back and slung something with mono line, and it just pops and keeps going because it goes bad faster. And a lot of times when you're fighting big fish, big fish with mono, it gets tired and kinky and coily, and you wind up changing it almost as many times to equal the amount you could have bought braid. But there again, you get spooled with braid, you lost some money, or if you get it caught in a piling, you know, at the 100-yard out mark or the 50-yard out mark, and you get a nick in the line, you just wasted 50 yards of line and you got to respool. But you know, that's the con. The cons are it's expensive, but the pros is it lasts longer. And you know, you don't have to go slap full of braid. Okay, everybody thinks that, you know, if they can put 300 yards of braid on there, they gotta have 300 yards. Because very seldom have I ever got to the backing on my braided line. Okay, I've caught tarpon this year. I've caught smoker kings. I've caught big jack crevalle. I've caught giant redfish. You know, I've caught, you know, big sharks this year. And in a kayak, you really do not need 300 yards of braid. Okay, you can get away with 150 yards of braid all day long. Okay, you could even just top shot it of braid because you can follow them in the kayak. Like if let's say that you know, you're trolling out there. You're trolling, and you know, you've got it 50 yards back, and a big king hits it and just runs off 150 yards line, right? Well, say he runs it off, and you turn your kayak and you start pumping, or in my kayak, I start pedaling after him, and I cut the distance on him. Bam, I'm on top of him. I'm going to be reeling and pedaling and reeling and pedaling, and by the time, you know, he gets on his next burst, I'm already back to within range on him, you know, and then he peels it off again, I've already got it. So that 50 yards of braid, or that 50-pound braid that I've top shotted, you know, on my my reels, you know, I probably only got less than 200 yards of braid on there. So I could take a big spool of braid and spool my other reels, and it works out. You don't have to have a full spool of braid. 150 yards is usually fine. Now, if you're in a boat and you're fishing really deep water, you know, or you're running lines out for sharks, now you're going to need more. You might need more braid because once the fight starts, they're further out there and you can't gain ground on them. You know, if you're on the back of a boat and, you know, that fish hits it and takes off the other way, yeah, you might need that extra slap full of braid. Okay. But if you're in a kayak and you can turn on him and you can follow him, or you're in a boat and you can follow him, you know, you don't always need 350 yards of braid. You know, even 50 yards of braid can work top shotting, you know, your mono. But that being said, you know, that backing goes bad quicker than the braid itself. You know, braid lasts a long time if you take care of it. I've got some of my reels right now that are over a year old, and I fished it every day into the doggone ground, and it's still strong. Because if you lose 20% strength on a 50-pound braid, you know, you're still, you know, stronger than 30-pound braid. You know, like, and 30-pound braid will catch just about anything in a kayak. 30-pound mono will catch anything in a kayak. If you look at that big tarpon video with Keith Morrison, he was working that tarpon with 30-pound mono all day long. Tarpon couldn't do nothing with him with 30-pound mono. got him the boat, whooped him, whole 9 yards, 30-pound mono. You can do it with 25-pound mono. You know, you just got to spend your time fighting the fish, you know, and make sure it's fresh mono. But yeah, like I'm saying, like, be realistic with the size mono you're getting. You know, if your reel is not meant to have 65 pounds of pressure on it, don't put 65-pound braid on it, because you'll destroy your reel. You know, like I said, just about anything over 30-pound fishing line in a kayak is excessive, unless you're bottom dropping and pulling straight up, because you will not really be able to put enough pressure on a fish in a kayak to pop 65-pound braid, 50-pound braid, or even 30-pound braid. Let me tell you, I've got some footage that I haven't shared of me fighting a bull shark under the 3 Mile Bridge in Pensacola. And this sucker was like 7 foot long, and he was a brute, okay? I fought this thing for 2 hours with the 50-pound braid on my Jigmaster 500, thumbing this thing. I had the thumb slap down on the spool. I was pulling so hard on this fish, you know, he wasn't budging. I was pulling so hard on this fish that the braid was pinging, okay? 50-pound braid. And I'm not a little dude, and I'm not weak. And I was putting so much pressure on this line, I still couldn't pop it, okay? And because the kayak is moving with the fish, you know? If you're on top of him and you're pulling, you're going to pull the kayak to him before it pops. That kayak is going to be that drag on that fishing line, okay? So, like even the other night, I was thumb spooling on a bull red with my Revos, trying to keep this big bull red from going into the pilings, okay? And you know, you can't stop a big bull red when he gets ready to go somewhere. But I was thumb spooling, I was sticking the thumb on him. I had the rod on the edge of the kayak, and I was just putting as much heat on him as I could, and still didn't break that 30-pound braid, okay? You know, there's a difference between getting broke off, cut off, and breaking your line, okay? So, all right, now I want to talk about the stretch factor, okay? You know, everybody talks about, you know, the reasons why they want to use mono is because it stretches, right? So, like, let's say you're fighting or you're trolling for wahoo, big kings, sailfish, something that hits the line doing like 9 million miles an hour, okay? They want it to be able to stretch instead of like a tow rope hit, you know, them things pulling on a tow rope and like breaking a rod eye or part of your reel, or snatching it out of the pole holder. You know, like if you're trolling, you know, 20 or 30 miles an hour and a wahoo hits it going 60 going the other way, you know, they like to use mono somewhere in there to be kind of like a, you know, to have the stretch factor. Now, kayak fishing, I don't really think that's an issue, okay, because you're not going fast enough, all right? I've had kings hit these things, or hit my line really hard, and you know, the reason why you can get away with braid, or you know, really the reason why it doesn't matter is I make sure I keep my drag real loose when I'm trolling. You know, that way when they hit it, bam, you know, it's just heavy enough to get a good little hook set, and but give them slack when they're gone. Okay, so when they hit it, bam, and they're taking off, that reel will let the line out and give it some cushion, you know, and it's never really an issue. And sometimes, you know, if you watch some of my videos, I will put a mono leader in there somewhere. You know, if it's not all the way to the hook, I'll have, you know, a short piece of steel with a mono leader, like 60-pound mono, and then my braid. So I've never really had the whole stretch thing be an issue. So yeah, I mean, if you're worried about stretch, if you have a chance to run into a wahoo or a sailfish or whatever in a kayak, don't worry about it. I don't really see it being an issue. And that just kind of goes into the next thing. Don't think you're gonna, because you got 65-pound braid on your reel, that you're gonna horse wrench a tarpon. All right, it's not gonna happen. Or you're gonna horse wrench a giant bull red. yeah, not really going to happen. When I mean a giant bull red, I mean 40 plus, okay? 40-inch plus. He's going where he's wanting to. Same way with a tarpon. You know, don't try to horse wrench them. You're gonna straighten out a hook. You're gonna get cut off. You're gonna get broke off. Your reel's gonna explode. Your rod's gonna break. If you don't believe that, watch the video where Keith Morrison gets his rod broken in half by the tarpon. Okay, they're just too big to try to think you're gonna manhandle them. I don't care how big your arms are. All right, you're not gonna power lift a 150-pound tarpon or a big 150-pound shark. Okay, it's not happening. So don't think you gotta have 65-pound braid. I mean, 50's too much, in my opinion. But that's my rant on braid. Okay, mono's good stuff too. It's cheap, and you can put it on all your reels, and you know you can go out and rock out. Okay, 25-pound mono will catch just about anything out there. I mean, short of a tiger shark or a mako or something ridiculous. I mean, within common sense, your kings, your tunas, your tarpons, your all those in between, it'll do it. You know, short from trying to pull giant grouper out of a doggone wreck. Okay, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. But like I said, you only can put so much pressure on a line in a kayak without it moving, unless it's anchored up. Okay, but yeah, if you got any question on this conversation, just shoot it to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Yak Molly on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll see you next time. Later.